Hello and welcome back to North Carolina in SnowRunner. Now, a lot of people have been commenting things lately like, where is this DLC? I can't find it. Why can I not buy it? And y'all, and I honestly don't know how I've managed to get so many of those comments on pretty much every video about this DLC, but just for full clarification, this DLC has not been released yet. This is being recorded on the public test server, which allows the public to test upcoming content that isn't yet officially released, of course, if you own the game through the Epic Game Store. Now, I'm not going to get into some kind of debate as to why the public test server is available on Epic but not on Steam. That's a topic for another time. If you want the public test server, you need to own the game through Epic. Also, of course, if you're curious about the truck I am using in the video, link to the truck will be in the description box down below. Although, fair warning, it is a paid mod that also requires you to be on PC. But now we can get into some of the specifics that I really wanted to talk about in this one. Now, the specifics of the North Carolina DLC, I guess the community reception that I've personally seen has been a little bit, I don't know, like back and forth, almost like, not necessarily, I don't know if I would call it divisive, but it's still been a little bit back and forth, shall we say. And I think some of the reasoning for that is that there have been, I've seen the people in the comments saying, well, this doesn't look like North Carolina, so how dare they call it that? Or why would they call this North Carolina? Because it doesn't look like the part of North Carolina I've been to, or whatever the case may be. And I think a big thing that y'all have to remember sometimes with these SnowRunner DLCs is whenever they are based on a particular location, they're very much, if a cover band did a greatest hits album of, all covers for another band, if that makes sense. And maybe that does make sense, maybe it doesn't. But at the end of the day, I think that they're not necessarily trying to one-for-one, or rather one-to-one, capture the place that they are trying to represent. However, in the next map, if you don't necessarily care for the swampy, muddy areas that the first map has, the next map gives you a little bit more of that kind of mountain area style gameplay. So if that's something you're into, you'll definitely enjoy the next map a little bit more. Now, the next map seems to kind of build upon the design style that this one already had, which I think is good for sure. However, I did run into some public test server gremlins on Reactive Zone, and the public test server gremlins were I had one task active before I jumped, and then after the jump I basically had no active task anymore and had to just find a new one to start, but that was okay because we found a good one. And honestly, I'm not quite sure what their choice was to use that music. It seemed a little bit, I don't know, it doesn't necessarily, the music doesn't seem like it fits the vibe. But again, of course, y'all can be the judge of whether or not the music does or does not suit the vibe. So now that we're out here on the second map, essentially my fumbling around in the menus was me figuring out that the task that I did have active kind of decided to just not show up anymore. Like, it's showing up there on the top right, but really all it's telling me to do is go back to the other map, and it's not giving me any actual pop-up on this map. And for the next couple of minutes, enjoy some gameplay of the surrounding area, and of course, take a little bit of a closer look at what this area looks like, because it's a little bit more interesting than some of the other regions that we've seen so far. as you can see, I did decide to just go ahead and take that task because I wanted to change it up a little bit. I didn't necessarily want to stay with the task I had originally chosen. Plus, the recovery tasks and the rescue tasks are usually just fun. They're interesting, and they always give you a little bit of an incentive to explore. I don't know why I kind of fumbled over my words there. It happens to me sometimes. I don't know. I'm sure some of y'all can relate to your brain not always being fully connected to the words you want to say. I mean, sometimes your brain knows exactly what you want to say, and then it comes out of your mouth and you're just like, those words did not match where my brain was. But as we do continue to drive, I think honestly the biggest thing I'm learning about this region, at least so far, is if you're planning on spending a lot of time out here, bring something that is good in mud. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in like a perpetual winch fest, and perpetual winch fests are almost never fun. So bring something that's got at least semi-decent capability in mud. And honestly, I would kind of think that the new tire DLC, ironically, even though I'm using a mod, the new tire DLC would actually help you a lot in this region. But tire DLC aside, I honestly have been enjoying it a lot. And I think once I dove into the second map was when I started to kind of get a little bit more of that enjoyment than I was before. Because the first map, while it was kind of cool and it had some neat elements with the town and the little, miniature autocross course, which if you didn't see that, that was something I featured in my first North Carolina DLC video, or at least I think it was the first video in the series. I'm 99.9% sure, but go back on the channel and check. But this map definitely feels like it draws from more of that mountainous region, almost like a little bit of like an Appalachian vibe, not necessarily fully, but it's definitely there in terms of the inspiration. Like you've got the campsites, you've got the backwoods trails, you've got the rolling your truck over, because that happens. But then again, I guess it wouldn't be one of my videos without a little bit of a rollover, would it? Would it? I don't know. Comment below if you want me to include a rollover in like every video or every other video just to make sure that y'all are awake. Because how am I going to know that y'all are awake and actually watching the video if I don't roll a truck every once in a while on screen and then have you call it out in the comments? However, for the rest of our drive to the stranded Hummer, enjoy some more raw gameplay of these actually really pretty backwoods trails. And before someone gets all angry in the comments at what I'm about to do here, yes, I know that this is not a trail. No, I don't really care. And if we're being completely honest, it's actually a pretty sick rock crawling section that the truck managed to do a really, really good job on. So I'm just gonna take it as a win and go on from there. And also, we're getting really close to the stranded Hummer now. And essentially the premise of this recovery is they rolled it off the side of a bridge, and that's essentially it. So it's not really all that complicated of a scenario, but I still decided I wanted to have a little bit of fun with it. So if you are extremely concerned with realism, click off. Because what we're about to do to that poor little Hummer is not anywhere within the realm of realism, y'all. Although, what was hilarious about pulling it out of that ditch is the fact that it did actually flop onto its wheels, although it didn't spend much of the rest of the recovery on its wheels. I'm gonna go ahead and just let y'all know that right off the bat. And then, honestly, the rest of the drive back just turned into pure chaos. And pure chaos is kind of, I don't know, it's something we specialize in around here anyway. So if you like pure chaos, you're definitely in the right place. But all of that aside, if you are looking for an experience that's kind of reminiscent of Michigan, but has a little bit more mud, a little bit more of a creative atmosphere, a little bit of a new updated feel to kind of that same idea of Michigan. And yes, I did go through the same ditch again because it turned the wrong direction, and don't worry about it. I also have no clue what that tree was doing. The tree kind of just appeared out of nowhere. And it's kind of just like, oh, okay. Do whatever you're gonna do, I guess. And yes, I know that that's not part of the trail, as someone I'm sure is rushing to the comments. Absolutely rushing to the comments. I always find it really funny when, I mean, SnowRunner is an entirely open world game, and you'll get these people that are like, you're not supposed to go there. And if you want to play the game in that particular way, like only staying on the designated trails and only using the designated routes that the map gives you, fine. But at the same time, why ignore all of this other like open play area? Like if you think the vehicle can do it, I don't know. I mean, go for it, send it. But of course, everyone has their own ways that they play SnowRunner because it does give you the freedom to play the game however you want. And before we end this video, I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all finish with, well, essentially this Hummer going into absolute chaos, and we've really absolutely destroyed this thing towards the end of the delivery. So I'm gonna let y'all enjoy that, and that is gonna be it from me for this video. Hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see y'all next time.